Beyoncé Knowles Carter has engineered one of the tightest narratives in modern celebrity. Every album a cultural event, every tour a financial juggernaut, every personal detail filtered through Parkwood's iron gate for a quarter century. The strategy worked. She dictated the story, the visuals, the timing. Then came the moments she couldn't script, 8 of them, spanning 11 years, each exposing a different fracture in the facade. Some arrived as grainy security footage, others as courtroom filings, a few as stray lyrics that detonated online. Together, they form a timeline no publicist could spin away. An elevator brawl that replayed 1 billion times. A sampling dispute that reopened old industry wounds. A pair of stolen suitcases holding music the world hasn't heard. A cease and desist from a glowing orb in the Vegas desert. And, at the center, a visual album that turned private betrayal into public scripture. These aren't isolated tabloid flares, they're pressure points. They reveal how power flows or doesn't through contracts, family ties, and digital vaults. They show what happens when proximity to scandal is enough to stain a brand built on distance. Most importantly, they track a single question: can any icon stay airtight when the tools for exposure cameras, lawsuits, social media keep evolving faster than the defenses? Over the next half hour, we'll walk through each incident in order, from the earliest tremor to the most recent heist. We'll separate verified fact from rumor, map the money and motives behind every move, and examine the broader ripples: how a 3-minute clip can rewrite a marriage's public ledger, how a single lyric can launch a nationwide witch hunt. By the end, you'll see not just the scandals, but the system that produces them. And you'll understand why. For Beyoncé, surviving isn't the same as staying unscathed. Top 1: Lemonade and the infidelity scandal of Becky with the good hair. 2016. April 23, 2016 arrived without warning. At 9 p.m. Eastern, HBO flipped the switch on a 1-hour special simply titled Lemonade. No trailer, no single, no press junket, just Beyoncé's face dissolving into yellow light as a voiceover whispered, "What's worse, looking jealous or crazy?" What followed was not an album drop. It was an autopsy. 11 tracks, 65 minutes of poetry. Rage and reclamation, stitched together with Warsan Shire's verses and cinematic tableaus that bled from New Orleans plantations to underground parking garages. The narrative arc was surgical intuition, denial, anger, apathy, emptiness, accountability, reformation, forgiveness, resurrection, hope, redemption. But one line, delivered in the velvet snarl of "sorry," detonated the culture. He better call Becky with the good hair. Becky wasn't a name. It was an archetype, a stand-in for every polished, unassuming rival who slips through the cracks of a black woman's vigilance. The lyric landed like a match in dry grass. Within minutes, Twitter still the town square, then erupted into a digital dragnet. Had Becky with the good hair trended globally, spawning suspect collages, hair type breakdowns, and real-time alibis. Rachel Roy, the fashion designer and ex-wife of Jay-Z's former business partner Damon Dash, posted an Instagram selfie hours after the premiere, "Good hair don't care," paired with a champagne emoji. The Bayhive read it as a confession. Comments flooded thousands in minutes until Roy disabled them and went private. Rita Ora, another early suspect, clapped back with a Snapchat of herself in a lemon print bikini and a Not Becky necklace. The frenzy peaked when designer Rachel Roy's teenage daughter was doxxed and harassed online, forcing a rare public apology from Beyoncé's team. "We do not condone cyberbullying." Jay-Z stayed radio silent for over a year. The speculation filled the vacuum elevator tape flashbacks, Met Gala side-eyes, every public appearance dissected for subtext. Then, on June 30th, 2017, he released 444. Track 2. Kill Jay. Z. Opened the vault. You almost went Eric Benet, let the baddest girl in the world get away. Track 4. 444. Was the gut punch, I apologize, often womanize. Took for my child to be born. See through a woman's eyes. No names, but the timeline aligned Blue Ivy's birth in 2012. The Elevator in 2014. Lemonade in 2016. Cultural critics called it the first marital therapy session to go platinum. Jay later told David Letterman the album was the hardest thing I ever did. Admitting therapy saved them from divorce papers that were on the table. Lemonade itself became a financial and artistic juggernaut. The Formation World Tour, launched days after the premiere, grossed $256 million across 49 dates. The visual album racked up 11 Emmy nominations, won a Peabody, and cemented Beyoncé's pivot from pop star to auteur. Critics framed it as Southern Gothic therapy black women's pain alchemized into scripture. But the ambiguity was the genius. Beyoncé never confirmed Becky's identity. The void invited projection. For some, it was Rachel Roy. For others, a composite of every slight. The power lay in the mirror it held up betrayal as universal, forgiveness as radical. A decade later, the scandal's residue is everywhere. Becky entered Urban Dictionary as shorthand for the privileged interloper. Couples therapists cite Lemonade in sessions. Marriage counselors assign. Sorry as homework. The Carters Union, 3 children, 2 joint tours. A combined net worth north of $2 billion stands as proof that public confession can cauterize private wounds. Yet the episode exposed the double bind of black celebrity, every crack magnified, every reconciliation scrutinized. Beyoncé turned the knife inward, then outward, weaponizing vulnerability into empire. Lemonade didn't just document the fracture, it filled it with gold, proving that in the right hands, even infidelity can birth a masterpiece. The marriage endured, the myth evolved, and Becky, whoever she was, faded into footnote, a ghost in the machine of one woman's unyielding reinvention. Looking back over these 8 chapters, the pattern feels almost poetic. A private elevator scuffle evolves into a visual symphony of forgiveness. A misplaced sample sparks a quiet edit that echoes louder than any apology. A courtroom whisper vanishes with proof in hand, reinforcing the weight of proximity in powerful circles. A glowing orb demands its due, only to be swapped for another landmark in a single, sly pivot. Stolen suitcases vanish into the night, yet the show rolls on with tighter locks and sharper vigilance. A bizarre party bite dissolves into memes, leaving the queen untouched. And at the heart, a lyric about Becky transforms raw betrayal into a cultural cornerstone that still gleams a decade later. What ties them together is not the chaos itself, but the alchemy that follows. Each crack is sealed with something stronger: art, adaptation, silence, or sheer momentum. Beyoncé doesn't just endure, she recalibrates, turning exposure into armor and rumor into revenue. The real story isn't the scandals. It's the system that demands them and the resilience that outpaces them. So here's the lingering thought in a world that profits from every slip. How does any one icon or not decide when the curtain stays closed for good, We'd love to hear your perspective. Which moment lingered with you? And what does it say about the line between private life and public legend? Drop it in the comments below. If these deep dives into the lives behind the lights speak to you, subscribe to Starlight Remains and tap the bell. We're here every week, unpacking the stories that shape the spotlight. Up next, the hidden mechanics of Taylor Swift's Eras machine. Share this with a friend who loves the real talk, and we'll meet you back in the remains. Top 2. Who Bit Beyoncé? Tiffany Haddish and Sanaa Lathan, 2018. December 21, 2017. Wrapped Jay-Z's 444 tour on a high note at the Forum in Inglewood. But the real finale unfolded hours later at a private mansion in the hills above Sunset. The after-party was invitation only, the kind of low-lit, high-wattage gathering where champagne flowed in waterfalls and the guest list read like a Forbes cover shoot. Beyoncé, fresh off a surprise appearance during Jay's set, glided through in a gold mini dress that caught every strobe. Tiffany Haddish, riding the breakout wave of Girls Trip, worked the room in a sequined jumpsuit, phone in one hand, tequila in the other. Somewhere between the DJ booth and the dessert station, the night took a turn no one could have scripted. Haddish later recounted the moment to GQ with the timing of a stand-up pro. She was mid-conversation with Beyoncé when an actress described only as on something leaned in too close, too fast. 1 second they were laughing. The next, teeth met cheek. Not a nibble, not a graze, a full bite. Firm enough to leave a mark, but short of drawing blood. Beyoncé's reaction was pure steel wrapped in silk. According to Haddish, she stepped back, assessed the situation, and calmly told her, "Tiffany, I'm going to need you to relax. No security swarm, no raised voices, no scene." The actress vanished into the crowd. Beyoncé kept circulating, smile intact, as if the incident were a minor wardrobe malfunction. The story stayed locked in Haddish's vault for 3 months. Then, in a March 2018 GQ profile, she let it rip. "Somebody bit Beyoncé in the face," she said, eyes wide for emphasis. The internet, already primed for absurdity, treated the line like a starting pistol. Within hours, Who Bit Beyoncé trended worldwide, racking up 200,000 posts in a single day. Twitter became a virtual corkboard suspect mood boards. Paparazzi zooms on cheek contours, timelines mapping who was photographed near Beyoncé that night. Chrissy Teigen live tweeted the investigation like a detective on caffeine. Lena Dunham offered a bounty for intel. Late-night hosts mined it for monoliths. Jimmy Fallon staged a mock lineup of actresses wearing fangs. The suspect pool narrowed fast. Haddish dropped breadcrumbs in follow-up interviews. The biter was an actress, not a singer. She had a history with Jay-Z's circle. Her family ties soured after the leak. Sanaa Lathan, fresh off a guest spot on The Affair and a long-standing friendship with the Carters, checked every box. Paparazzi shots from the party placed her in Beyoncé's orbit. Old Rockefeller connections linked her to Jay. By April, Lathan was the internet's public enemy #1. She responded on X, "Yeah," with a mix of humor and steel. "Y'all are funny. Under no circumstances did I bite Beyoncé, and if I did, it would have been a love bite." The denial only fueled the fire. Fans parsed the phrasing like legal briefs, turning love bite into a meme template. Haddish never named names outright, but the hints kept coming. On the Hollywood Reporters Awards Chatter podcast, she alluded to the fallout. "They were mad at me. Like, you're ruining her career. Lathan's team stayed mum beyond the initial tweet. Beyoncé, true to form, offered zero commentary. No Instagram clarification. No subtle shade in a caption. Parkwood's silence was deafening, a masterclass in letting the noise burn itself out. By summer, the frenzy cooled. No lawsuits surfaced, no medical reports, no scarred selfies. The bite mark, if it ever existed, faded faster than the memes. What lingered was the cultural residue. The saga humanized Beyoncé in a way no Vogue cover ever could. Here was the untouchable icon, navigating the same awkward party encounters as any mortal, choosing composure over chaos. For Haddish, it was rocket fuel book deals, talk show circuits, a Netflix special built around the anecdote. Lathan rode out the storm with grace, landing roles in Succession and The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat, without missing a beat. The incident exposed Hollywood's bizarre underbelly, a room full of millionaires. Yet one impulsive moment could hijack the news cycle for weeks. Zoom out, and the bite becomes a mirror for celebrity in the social media age. A single offhand remark, amplified by algorithms, turns private weirdness into public property. No evidence required, just speculation, screenshots, and a hashtag. It's the same machinery that powers stan wars and cancel campaigns, but here it played out as farce. Beyoncé emerged unscathed, her mystique intact precisely because she refused to engage. The story didn't dent her crown, it polished it, proving that sometimes the best response to absurdity is to keep dancing. 8 years later. Who Bit Beyoncé still pops up in random threads, a relic of a simpler internet where a mysterious chomp could unite the timeline in collective bewilderment. The actress's identity remains officially unsolved, but the real winner was the myth itself. Beyoncé, bitten but never broken, gliding through the chaos with the calm of someone who knows the party always ends at sunrise. Top 3. Theft of 2 suitcases containing unreleased Beyoncé music 2025. July 8, 2025 was a Tuesday in Atlanta. The kind of sticky summer evening where the air conditioner in a rental Jeep Wagoneer feels like a small miracle. Choreographer Christopher Grant and dancer DeAndre Blue had just wrapped a full-day rehearsal for Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter tour. 4 nights at Mercedes-Benz Stadium looming like a sold-out storm. They parked on level 3 of the 99 Krog Street deck, a concrete maze tucked between the Beltline's murals and Ponce City Market's glow. 90 minutes for dinner at a nearby spot, nothing fancy, just fuel for the grind. When they returned at 9:47 p.m., the rear passenger window was a spiderweb of shattered glass, and the trunk yawned open. 2 black Rimowa suitcases hardshell, tour staple, were gone. Inside those cases sat the tour's nerve center. 5 unmarked USB drives held watermarked stems of unreleased tracks, some labeled active-free, others tagged with cryptic dates and city codes. Raw 8K footage from the previous leg's dress rehearsals, including alternate choreography for 16 carriages and a never-seen medley bridging Renaissance and Cowboy Carter. 2 MacBook Pros loaded with Logic Pro sessions, Ableton timelines, and encrypted folders titled Surprise Drops. A pair of custom AirPods etched with Beyoncé's initials. And, almost as an afterthought, wardrobe pieces: a crystal-embroidered Stetson, a pair of chrome chaps, a denim corset stitched with her children's birthstones. Street value of the hardware: maybe $15,000. Value of the data incalculable. Parkwood insiders later told investigators that a single premature leak could torpedo a planned Q4 surprise album rollout and shave 8 figures off exclusivity deals with Apple and Netflix. Atlanta PD's larceny unit moved fast. By 10:30 p.m, officers dusted for prints and pulled 4K feeds from the deck's 42 cameras. Find My pings lit up the MacBooks at 11:12 p.m., placing them in motion along Moreland Avenue, then stalling near a Shell station in East Atlanta. The trail went cold at a red 2025 Hyundai Elantra registered to a Shell LLC in Decatur. Warrants for the vehicle and its GPS data dropped July 14th. Fingerprints lifted from the Jeep's door handle matched a 28-year-old with priors for car break-ins and identity theft. As of mid-November, he remains at large. The suitcases unrecovered. The drives silent. Beyoncé herself was airborne when the theft hit private charter from Nashville to Hartsfield-Jackson, prepping for night 1 at the Benz. Parkwood's crisis team activated a protocol drafted after the 2013 laptop hack that leaked grown woman. Phones were wiped remotely. Cloud backups triple encrypted. Every crew member's device scanned for unauthorized uploads. The show went on July 10th without a skipped beat 72,000 fans. Pyrotechnics synced to the millisecond. Beyoncé descending on a mechanical bull as if the breach were a distant rumor. Backstage, though, the mood was surgical. Grant and Blue spent soundcheck reconstructing set lists from memory and iCloud scraps. A new rider clause appeared overnight. All sensitive media now travels in biometric Pelicans, escorted by off-duty Fulton County deputies in unmarked Suburbans. The incident exposed a vulnerability no stadium fortress can seal. Cowboy Carter is a $300 million machine. 180 trucks, 400 crew. Nightly grosses north of $8 million, but its Achilles heel is a $49 day rental parked under fluorescent lights. In an era where a single Dropbox link can flood Reddit with stems before breakfast, the theft wasn't just a crime, it was a stress test for the entire live music economy. Labels now mandate geo-fenced hard drives that brick outside venue perimeters. Insurers are rewriting policies to cover intellectual property in transit. Premiums spiking 40%. Even mid-tier acts are investing in Faraday cages for tour buses. One Parkwood source summed it up to Variety off-record. We insure the pyro, the LED walls, the mechanical bull. We never thought to insure the trunk. For Beyoncé, the loss was more than logistical. Those drives held sketches of Act 3 speculated to be rock-infused, maybe a full-band reimagining of Destiny's Child cuts. Fans on SO dissected every tour glitch for clues, convinced a leaked Texas Hold'em remix with Post Malone had surfaced on SoundCloud it hadn't. The Hive's paranoia turned prophetic when a fake leaked setlist went viral, forcing Parkwood to issue a rare denial. The thief, wherever he is, holds a Pandora's box bootlegs could crater a billion-stream rollout or sit dormant as leverage in a future ransom play. Atlanta PD's lead detective told local reporters the case is active and priority. But without the physical drives, recovery odds shrink daily. 2 nights later, July 12th, Beyoncé closed the Atlanta run with an unscripted monologue. Under a single spotlight, she spoke of thieves who take what ain't theirs, then launched into an a cappella verse never heard before raw, defiant, unmistakably new. The crowd lost it. Whether it was damage control or pure improvisation, the moment reframed the breach a queen-turning violation into voltage. The tour rolled on to Vegas, then Europe, grosses untouched, but the suitcases remain ghosts. Black Rimowas haunting a Decatur impound lot, their secrets locked tighter than the Benz's roof on a sold-out Saturday. In the end, the heist didn't derail the machine. It upgraded the armor. And somewhere in the humid Georgia night, a red Elantra still carries the weight of what might have been the biggest leak in pop history. Top 4. Cease and desist. Letter from the Las Vegas Sphere, 2025. April 28, 2025. Lit up SoFi Stadium in Inglewood like a prairie fire. The opening night of Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter and the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour. Over 70,000 fans packed the stands. A sea of cowboy hats and LED wristbands pulsing to the beat of her genre-defying odyssey. The production was a spectacle on steroids dragged to dancers in synchronized stomps, holographic horses thundering across screens, and Beyoncé herself as a 400-foot colossus in the interlude visuals striding through American icons like the Statue of Liberty and the Hollywood sign, her lasso cracking like thunder. Then came the Vegas skyline, a glittering strip of neon mirages, where the towering Beyoncé paused, leaned down, and scooped up the unmistakable glow of the sphere. She juggled it like an oversized marble, spinning it overhead before setting it down with a wink. The crowd roared. It played as pure camp, a playful nod to Sin City's allure. No one in the arena that night could have guessed it would spark a showdown with one of the Strip's most litigious landlords. The Sphere isn't just architecture. It's a $2.3 billion bet on spectacle as currency. Opened in September 2023, the exosphere-wrapped orb has hosted U2's residency, Fish's trippy sets, and Dead & Company's Farewell, turning heads with its 18,000-seat intimacy and 16K resolution LED skin that beams ads visible from space. Owned by Sphere Entertainment Group, a spin-off of Madison Square Garden Entertainment. Helmed by the combative James Dolan, it's less a venue than a trademarked empire. Dolan, the Knicks' longtime owner known for suing fans and feuding with legends like Charles Barkley, has built a fortress around his assets. Trademarks cover the Sphere's name, shape, and even its halo lighting effects. Licensing deals for merch and media tie-ins rake in millions. By early 2025, whispers of Beyoncé talks had circulated a potential 20-show residency to cap her tour, dangling the kind of cultural cachet that could eclipse even the weekend's run. But negotiations cratered in February, reportedly over Beyoncé's insistence on 2 weeks of blackout rehearsals, full control of the space, no overlapping events. Dolan, ever the gatekeeper, walked. What followed wasn't a quiet fade, it was a visual that reignited the ghost. On May 2nd, 4 days into the tour and 2 nights after the opener, Dolan's legal team fired off a cease and desist to Parkwood Entertainment, penned by attorney Kathleen McCarthy. The 5-page missive didn't mince words. Beyoncé's prominent appearance and manipulation of the Sphere in the interlude constituted impermissible use and violation of intellectual property rights. The letter zeroed in on the optics, the giant bay looming over the orb, toying with it like a plaything, arguing it fueled significant speculation of an imminent residency, drawing ticket inquiries Sphere couldn't fulfill. This unauthorized depiction has caused confusion and harm, it read, demanding the sequence's immediate excision by May 5th, lest ESIG pursue all available remedies, including injunctions and damages. Sources close to the matter told the New York Post it stung. Personally, Dolan's team saw it as free promo for a deal that slipped away. A digital slight in a city where image is everything. Beyoncé's camp, caught mid-tour, had little runway. The visuals were baked into a 3-hour extravaganza synced to lights, pyros, and choreography. The pivot came swift as a slot machine jackpot. by the May 4th encore at SoFi Night 3. With Cache McClay of USA Today in the crowd noting the seamless flow, the Sphere was history. In its place, Allegiant Stadium, the Raiders' silver spaceship, hoisted and spun with the same flair. The edit rippled through the production pipeline overnight, a testament to Parkwood's machine-like efficiency. Post-show, the label dropped the clip on Instagram Bay as Colossus cradling the stadium like a football, captioned, "What happens in Vegas starts with a bang." The shade landed like glitter fans flooded comments with cry-laugh emojis and petty queen memes. One writing, "Dolan thought he could check her honey." X lit up with side-by-sides. The original orb's ethereal pulse swapped for Allegiant's angular gleam, turning a legal hiccup into viral folklore. No full lawsuit materialized. The letter's deadline passed without escalation. And by mid-May, the story had folded into tour lore, a footnote amid sold-out runs in Chicago and Atlanta. At its core, this wasn't about a 30-second clip. It was a microcosm of power's new fault lines. The Sphere embodies the gig economy's gilded cage venues as IPs, demanding royalties for mere mention in the cultural ether. Dolan, with his history of litigious flair from Knicks logo parodies to MSG's facial recognition bans, represents the old guard's grip tightening in a digital age where artists like Beyoncé wield narratives like weapons. She didn't need permission. Her tour, projected to gross $200 million across 9 U.S. stops and European jaunts, turned skylines into canvases. Yet the C&D forced a concession, however minor, underscoring that even trillion-stream icons negotiate with billion-dollar behemoths. Beyoncé's edit, a masterclass in alchemy transforming friction into fuel. The swap a sly billboard for her July 25-26 Allegiant dates, where she'll close the North American leg without a hint of orb. For American audiences hooked on the underdog triumph, this episode resonates beyond the strip. It humanizes the monolith Beyoncé. Fresh off Cowboy Carter's Grammy sweep for Best Country Album and Album of the Year, still bends to the fine print. Fans celebrated the clapback, but it invites reflection in an era of immersive empires, from Coachella holograms to metaverse merch. Who copyrights the dream Dolan's move quelled rumors but amplified irony. The Sphere, built to dazzle, dimmed its own spotlight. Beyoncé pressed on, unchained, her tour a rolling manifesto of reinvention. The orb faded from screens, but not from conversation, a glowing reminder that in Vegas, the house always gets its cut, even when the Queen calls the bluff. Top 5. Being named in legal documents related to the Diddy case, 2024 to 2025. April 1, 2025 fell on a Tuesday, the kind of unremarkable spring day that belies the seismic shifts it can unleash. In the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida, Joseph Manzaro, a Florida resident with a history of legal filings against high-profile figures, unleashed a 64-page complaint that read like a fever dream scripted for prime time. At its core, allegations of a 2015 freak-off at Sean Diddy Combs' Star Island mansion in Miami, tied to a birthday bash for Diddy's then 17-year-old son. Christian King Combs, Manzaro claimed he was drugged at a nearby gathering, shuttled through a concealed tunnel connecting the Estefan's home to Diddy's, and thrust into a night of coercion, humiliation, and assault. The suit accused Combs of human trafficking, racketeering, witness tampering, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, echoing the federal charges that had landed Diddy in a Brooklyn detention center 6 months earlier. But what propelled this filing into the stratosphere wasn't just the graphic details. It was the names dropped like confetti Beyoncé and Jay-Z, seated ringside to the alleged horror. Manzaro's narrative painted a tableau straight out of a thriller. Drugged and disoriented, he described being paraded half-naked in a penis mask through Diddy's sprawling party space, a punishment for snitching, as handlers allegedly explained. There, in a haze of strobe lights and bass thumps, sat the Carters. Beyoncé, according to the complaint, locked eyes on him and uttered words that seared the page. "What's this? Why is there a half-naked white man with a cock mask in front of me?" Jay-Z remained silent in the telling, but their mere presence amplified the claim witnesses to a coercive enterprise, complicit by proximity. The suit didn't charge them with crimes. They weren't defendants. Yet in a document laced with A-listers like LeBron James and Jacob the Jeweler Arabo, the inclusion felt like a grenade lobbed into hip-hop's inner sanctum. By evening, TMZ had the PDF, and the story ricocheted from E! To the BBC, headlines screaming, "Beyoncé and Jay-Z at Diddy's Freak Off." Social media ignited X threads dissecting timelines, Reddit forums mapping Star Island's elite web, Instagram stories from fans demanding answers. For a public still reeling from Diddy's September 2024 arrest on sex trafficking and racketeering counts, this was oxygen to the fireproof that the allegations sprawled beyond one man's orbit. The Carters' decades-long entanglement with Combs made the pill bitter. Their history stretched back to 2000's MTV Video Music Awards after-party, where Jay-Z and Diddy toasted as kings of the castle, a bromance that birthed joint tours, Rockefeller label crossovers, and that infamous white party aesthetic. Beyoncé, woven in through marriage and collabs, had shared stages at Diddy's star-studded bashes, her presence a seal of untouchable glamour. But by 2015, cracks showed Lemonade's veiled barbs at betrayal, the elevator tape's lingering frost. Proximity, once a badge of industry kinship, now read as liability. In the court of public opinion, association equaled audition. Were the Carters blind to the rot, or part of the wallpaper? Black Twitter, now a mosaic of voices, split sharply. Some decried the suit as a cash grab, Manzaro's prior filings against figures like Elon Musk raising red flags. Others saw it as the domino tipping hip-hop's old guard, forcing accountability in circles where NDAs muffled screams. "Guilt by a glow-up," one viral post quipped, capturing the exhaustion of watching icons' halos flicker. Beyoncé's silence was her shield. No posts, no clips, just the relentless churn of Cowboy Carter tour rehearsals. Her Vegas dates locked in without a stutter. Jay-Z's team, led by powerhouse attorney Alex Spiro, moved like a scalpel. Within days, they flooded Manzaro's lawyers with irrefutable proof private jet manifests time-stamped for a Hawaii getaway. Paparazzi shots from a low-key NYU event, headlined midweek. Geotagged family photos from Oahu beaches. The Carters weren't in Miami. They were 400 to 800 miles away. Worlds removed from Star Island's shadows. On April 11th, 10 days after filing, Manzaro amended the complaint. Beyoncé and Jay-Z vanished entirely, along with the damning dialogue. LeBron and Jacob stayed as spectral mentions, but the core defendants held Diddy, producer Emilio Estefan, ex-dancer Adria English. No settlement whispers, no gag orders leaked. Manzaro's camp offered zero rationale, pressing forward toward a May 2025 hearing. Spiro called the original inclusion baseless and reckless, a line that landed in press packets but stopped short of a countersuit. The episode burned bright and brief, less than 2 weeks from spark to ash. Legally, it was a non-event, no charges against the Carters, no ripple in their empire. Diddy's federal trial loomed larger, his not guilty plea a defiant drumbeat amid 60-plus civil suits. Yet for Beyoncé, whose brand is a lighthouse of moral clarity, Lemonade's feminist fury, Formation's unbowed stance, this was a gut check. Her silence preserved the fortress, but the shrapnel scarred the stone. In elite enclaves, where deals seal in smoke-filled rooms and parties double as power plays, one errant name can ignite the whole network. It wasn't accusation, it was adjacency's curse, a reminder that in hip-hop's gilded web, threads tangle fast. Fans parsed it as exoneration, a queen too sharp to stumble into the fray. Critics framed it as fragility. How many alibis can one dynasty bank before the vault feels like a cage? Zoom out, and the Manzaro Amendment underscores a harsher equity. Diddy's downfall has scorched allies from Usher to the NFL, but the Carters' swift erasure highlights their rare leverage resources to disprove in real time, a public that grants the benefit of the pause. For Black excellence icons like Beyoncé, the brush isn't just personal, it's cultural. Every false link risks diluting the narrative she's curated survivor, visionary, above the fray. The suit fades, but the echo lingers a cautionary pulse in a year where had Me Too's second wave laps at every shore. In the end, it wasn't the party that tested her, it was the pullback, proving that in the glare of association, innocence isn't assumed, it's armored. Top 6. The Break My Soul. Copyright Lawsuit 2024. May 22, 2024 dawned humid and electric in New Orleans, the kind of morning that hums with the city's unfiltered rhythm. For Tessa Avi, Keva Bourgeois, Henri Braggs, and Brian Clark, members of the once vibrant bounce collective Da Showstoppers. It was the day they decided to step out of the shadows. In a federal courtroom in the Eastern District of Louisiana, they filed a complaint that rippled far beyond the bayou, naming Beyoncé Knowles Carter, her husband Jay-Z, Big Freedia, Sony Music, and Parkwood Entertainment as defendants. At issue a three-word phrase that had quietly fueled a global phenomenon: "Release Yo Wiggle." The suit traced a straight line back to 2002, when Da Showstoppers cut "Release a Wiggle" on a mixtape that captured the raw, seismic energy of New Orleans bounce. This wasn't polished pop. It was street corner alchemy high-tempo beats, layered with call and response chants, designed to make second lines snake through the streets. The group, then a fixture in the city's underground scene, coined the hook as a signature, an invitation to let loose, to shake off the weight of everyday grind. "Release Yo Wiggle" wasn't just lyrics, it was a mantra, repeated 12 times across the track's 2-minute sprint, woven into the melody like kudzu on a fence. For Da Showstoppers, it represented their stake in a genre born from Black working-class resilience, a sound that turned Mardi Gras Indians and social aid clubs into sonic blueprints. Fast forward 12 years to 2014. Big Freedia, the undisputed queen of bounce, drops Explode, a furious 2-minute 47-second banger that mirrors Da Showstoppers' energy beat for beat. The phrase echoes prominently variants like "Release Yo Wiggle," peppered evenly throughout, driving the song's relentless pulse. Freedia's track catches fire in New Orleans clubs, then catches the ear of producers on Beyoncé's Renaissance sessions. By July 2022, it surfaces in "Break My Soul," The album's lead single, a disco-infused escape hatch that samples "Explode" directly, channeling Bounce's communal joy into a pandemic-era anthem. The song rockets to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 2 weeks, soundtracking everything from office quits to viral TikToks. Renaissance follows, spawning a world tour that grosses $500 million and a concert film that pulls in another $260 million at the box office. For Beyoncé, it's a masterstroke reclaiming Black dance roots with surgical reverence. For Da Showstoppers, it's erasure no credit, no royalties, no whisper of their origin in the victory lap. The complaint laid it bare with forensic detail. Da Showstoppers have a copyright to their unique and distinctive lyrics and musical composition. It read, alleging that Freedia had access to the track and lifted not just the phrase, but substantially similar melodic fragments and arrangements. Beyoncé's sample of "Explode," a downstream infringement. The suit argued, funneling their DNA into a profit machine without a single nod. They sought everything co-writer credits on both songs, all past royalties, a slice of future sync deals, and damages tallied in the millions. A jury trial was demanded, the kind that could drag this into depositions and expert testimonies on what makes a phrase original in the age of algorithms. Beyoncé's camp, true to form, went dark. No Instagram clarifications, no Jay-Z tweets, just the quiet machinery of high-powered lawyers filing motions under the radar. Parkwood and Sony leaned on a bedrock defense. The sample from "Explode" had been legally cleared through proper channels, with Freedia's publishers signing off. Copyright law, after all, doesn't shield short phrases like "release yo wiggle." They're ideas, not inventions, free for the taking in a genre as communal as bounce. Judges have tossed similar claims for less, ruling that common idioms can't be monopolized. Whispers in legal circles suggested the case might not survive a motion to dismiss. The odds felt stacked from the jump. 3 months later, on August 9th, the plaintiffs pulled the plug. A voluntary dismissal with prejudice, no refiling allowed, hit the docket, ending the saga without fanfare. No settlement was disclosed, no victory laps from either side. Da Showstoppers' attorneys offered no comment. Freedia posted a cryptic bounce clip on Instagram, captioned with a shrug emoji. Beyoncé, she was midway through Cowboy Carter promotions, her silence unbroken. The song stayed intact on every platform, its hook unchallenged. On paper, it's a clean win for the defense, a footnote in the endless scroll of sampling disputes. But zoom out, and the optics tell a stickier story. Bounce isn't abstract, it's New Orleans' lifeblood, forged in the Ninth Ward's block parties and second-line parades, a black queer tradition that survived Katrina's floods and gentrification's creep. Da Showstoppers weren't household names, but they were architects pioneers who helped export the sound from local tapes to global stages. Watching it propel Freedia to Netflix deals and Beyoncé to billionaire status, all while their own careers faded into mixtape archives. That's not just legal defeat, it's a quiet gut punch to the originators left holding the blueprint. This suit, brief as it was, cracked open a wider conversation about extraction in hip-hop's family tree. Sampling has always been the genre's secret sauce. Public Enemy flipping Isaac Hayes, Kanye West mining soul crates, but in Bounce's oral tradition ethos. Credit flows like brass band horns. When an underground hook catapults a track to 1.5 billion streams. Who gets the echo? Beyoncé's Renaissance paid homage to the unseen. Yet this chain reaction exposed the blind spots, clearances that stop at the surface, profits that pool at the top. For Da Showstoppers, The withdrawal might close a chapter, but it plants a flag for every tape trader and bedroom producer eyeing the majors. Homage builds bridges, extraction burns them. And in a city that taught the world to twerk through the storm, that's a lesson worth more than any jury's verdict. The dismissal didn't dim, break my soul's glow, it amplified the irony. Beyoncé kept the song, the tour, the cultural crown. Da showstoppers. They returned to relative quiet, their wiggle forever linked to a fight that asked, in the end, if the music's joy can ever fully belong to one voice when it started as a chorus. Top 7. Kelis accuses Beyoncé of using milkshake sample without notice, 2022. July 29, 2022, marked the arrival of Renaissance, Beyoncé's long-awaited plunge to house and disco's underground pulse. The album landed with the precision of a summer storm, critics praising its archival depth, fans decoding every nod to ballroom culture and lost legends. Track 5. Energy. Fit right in a glitchy, euphoric build that urged listeners to bring the beat in. But tucked into its outro was a faint echo, a series of breathy la 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 that hummed like a half-remembered hook from 2 decades back. For most, it blended seamlessly into the track's frenetic close. For Kelis, it felt like a door slamming shut on a room she'd long tried to reclaim. The interpolation drew straight from Milkshake, Kelis's 2003 breakout that turned a playground taunt into a chart-topping manifesto of unapologetic sensuality. That song wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural shorthand, licensed into ads, remixes, and memes, racking up royalties that kept it alive long after its peak. On Renaissance, the credits for Energy spelled out the lineage clearly written by Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo of the Neptunes, performed by Kelis. No co-writing nod for her, no producer stamp, just the performer tag, a footnote to the men who shaped the sound. Beyoncé's team had cleared it legally through the publishers. Universal Music Group, owners of the master, gave the green light. But clearance doesn't always mean conversation, and that's where the fault line cracked open. Kelis learned of it the way any fan might a tip on Instagram from a follower account hyping the album's samples. No courtesy call, no email thread, no heads up from mutual friends in the industry. She fired back the same day, first in a comment on that post. "That's cute. I guess y'all forgot to tell me." By evening, her stories escalated into raw, unfiltered videos, voice steady but edged with years of carried weight. "In this industry, this is not uncommon," she said, eyes locked on the camera. Publishing was stolen. People were swindled out of rights. It happens all the time, especially back then. But this wasn't ancient history. It was personal. She zeroed in on Pharrell. "He knows better. This is a direct hit at me. He does this stuff all the time. It's very petty." The Neptunes had been her early architects crafting her 1999 debut Kaleidoscope when she was just 20. A Virginia Beach ingenue paired with the duo's futuristic funk. Those sessions birthed hits, but also contracts she later called predatory advances that swallowed royalties, publishing rights that slipped away like smoke. Milkshake became her biggest payday, yet the writer's cut stayed with Williams and Hugo. 2 decades on, the wound hadn't scarred over. The backlash rippled fast. Kelis trends lit up Twitter, now X, amassing thousands of posts in hours. A mix of solidarity from R&B diehards and debates over what sampling even means in 2022. Was it theft, as Kelis framed it, or fair game in a genre built on borrowing Beyoncé fans defended the homage Renaissance was a tapestry of Black and queer dance pioneers. From Donna Summer to the Clark sisters' Why Single This Out Yet? Kellis's voice cut through, framing it not as beef with Beyoncé, but as a symptom of deeper rot. "It's not about me being mad about Beyoncé," she clarified in a follow-up clip. "We know each other. She could have contacted me." It was the hypocrisy that stung, the utter ignorance of looping in a track without a nod to the woman whose voice made it iconic. By midnight, outlets from Pitchfork to the BBC had amplified her words, turning a 5-second outro into a referendum on consent in the studio. Beyoncé's response came not in words, but in action. Within 48 hours, the La La Las vanished from Energy across Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Pharrell and Hugo's composer credits followed suit on her official site, scrubbed clean as if the interpolation had never hummed. No press release, no apology, just a surgical edit. The kind that streaming platforms allow for master-quality updates. Kellis clocked it immediately, replying to a fan's query with a simple "had winning." The change cost nothing measurable. Renaissance would go on to gross $500 million on tour alone, its dance floors packed with fans oblivious to the swap. But the move spoke volumes, a concession to human decency over legal fine print, a quiet pivot that let the album breathe without the baggage. Peel back the layers, and this dust-up illuminates the invisible scaffolding of hitmaking. Sampling isn't just recycling beats, it's a power ledger who holds the masters, who pockets the sync fees, who gets the byline that opens festival slots. For Kellis, a Black woman who navigated the Neptune's boy club orbit in the pre-Hatch Me Too era, it's a stark reminder of contracts that favor the architects over the artists. Pharrell, now a billionaire tastemaker, has spoken publicly about his own early publishing pitfalls yet here. Silence ruled. Beyoncé, no stranger to archival reverence, threaded the needle. Her album honored the unseen. But this oversight humanized the queen, showing even empires negotiate midstream. In the end, the edit didn't erase the echo, it amplified it, sparking panels on NPR and essays in The Atlantic about equity in the sample crate. Kellis walked away with her narrative intact, later channeling the fire into milkshake-inspired farm-to-table pop-ups that sold out in minutes. Beyoncé pressed forward, unchained and unbowed. But the question it leaves, who truly owns the hook that calls the boys to the yard, hangs in every remix to come. A reminder that in music's endless loop, credit isn't just ink on a page, it's the difference between homage and erasure. Top 8. The Met Gala Elevator Incident. Solange attacks. Jay-Z in front of Beyoncé, 2014, May 5, 2014, started like any other Met Gala night for the Carter Knowles Circle. Beyoncé arrived in a sheer black Givenchy gown that made front-page art. Jay-Z, sharp in white tie Tom Ford, stayed a half step behind, the picture of understated power. Solange, in vivid red, completed the trio. Cameras caught smiles on the carpet, hand-holding, the usual choreography of red carpet royalty. Hours later, inside the Boom Boom Room after-party at the Standard High Line, the choreography broke. The hotel's security system recorded what happened next in crisp, silent black and white. Elevator doors slide shut at 2:17 a.m. Solange is already in motion, lunging at Jay-Z with a closed fist, then a knee, then open hand slaps. 12 separate strikes in 43 seconds. The bodyguard, a mountain in a suit, wedges himself between them, absorbing elbows meant for his boss. Beyoncé plants herself center frame, arms extended like a referee who has forgotten the whistle. Her face never changes. If she speaks, the tape doesn't catch it. At 2:18, the doors open on the lobby level. They walk out in single file, Solange first, Jay-Z adjusting his cufflinks, Beyoncé last straight past doormen who pretend not to notice. TMZ paid an undisclosed sum for the footage and dropped it online 3 days later. By breakfast, it had looped on every morning show, dissected by legal analysts who noted the absence of visible injury and the presence of probable cause for assault charges that never materialized. Manhattan DA spokespeople declined comment. The Standard issued a terse apology for the breach. Parkwood, Rock Nation, and Solange's publicist released identical statements within 90 minutes. The parties involved had worked through their issues and remained a united family. End of official record. The silence only fed the machine. Fashion blogs zoomed on Rachel Roy, Jay-Z's former Rocawear partner, seen chatting with him earlier in the evening. Roy posted, then deleted. An Instagram captioned, "Good hair, don't care," a phrase that felt like a match struck in dry grass. Solange unfollowed Roy within the hour. Tabloids ran side-by-side timelines, the elevator at 2:17, Beyoncé's Flawless remix dropping in December with the line about billion-dollar elevators. The first whispers of Jay-Z's rumored indiscretions that would surface fully in Lemonade. None of it was confirmed, but the dots connected themselves in real time. Look closer, and the incident exposes more than family tension. It reveals the limits of money as insulation. The Carters were already a combined net worth north of $1 billion. Their security detail that night included off-duty NYPD. Yet a single fixed camera in a service elevator stripped the armor away. No NDA can erase pixels. No crisis team can unloop 43 seconds. The clip became the first public proof that the empire had private fault lines, and it trained the world to watch for the next crack. Beyoncé never addressed the footage directly. Instead, she embedded the reference in art, first the remix, later the Formation Tour visuals, where elevator doors flashed on screens behind her. Solange, in a 2017 interview, called the leak a violation but refused to discuss cause. Jay-Z, on his 2017 album, rapped about leaving the past in the past. The legal system stayed out of it. No civil suit, no restraining order, no police report ever surfaced. What lingered was the image 3 of the most powerful people in music, trapped in a metal box, acting out a scene no script meeting ever approved. 11 years on, the elevator tape still tops every most shocking celebrity moments list. It did more than embarrass it. Recalibrated expectations. Before 2014, the Carters sold invincibility. After, they sold survival. The fight became prologue, a quiet warning that the perfect picture could shatter in 43 seconds flat. And when Lemonade arrived 2 years later, the world was already primed to read every lyric as confession.